Time Gate Moments. Welcome. Hi there, guys, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the platform and channel. You are watching Time Gate Moments, episode 21, the vanishing point of perspective, aka the linear vanishing point of perspective. Yes, welcome to the platform. So yeah, whoever you are, wherever you are watching from, if you came here by accident or for entertainment or just by, I don't know, for curiosity, stay with us. Keep riding this wagon. You will not be disappointed. Why? Because you are simply watching the truth, you see, in cosmology and cosmography. So yeah, keep watching right to the end because we have one or two surprises for you at the end for sure. So, the vanishing point on the horizon, that is the distant horizon where objects and things just seem to vanish out of sight. Not because of supposed curvature, nope, it is all to do with distance. Pay attention, people. You see, especially if you are a Muslim watching this. You see, look, let's just oversimplify it for the Muslims that may be watching this video. The vanishing point of perspective is a basic and pure demonstration of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creativity of the world around you as you observe, as you look, as you see the natural phenomena around you. You see, in particular, for example, in art and geometry, a vanishing point is the exact spot, as you can see on these images here, is the exact spot on a horizon line where the receding parallel lines appear to converge and disappear, creating the reality, the observable reality of a three-dimensional depth on a flat surface. You see, it is therefore a foundational element of linear perspective and basic geometry. As expected, here is the formula for the supposed and imaginary curvature of the globe Earth, taken from the Chambers mathematical table, old school stuff and databases. How could we have ever left out the mention of the imaginary and fictitious curvature from this video? It had to be done, therefore here it is. So, as you know, many globists and modern cosmologists, they keep saying, oh, well, if the Earth is flat, what about the curvature? And this and that, and this and that. Of course, most of them are clueless. They are just regurgitating, repeated as expected, what they have been fed from mass media, posters, garbage, and NASA, rubbish, basically. Anyway, so here we go, right here. These are the basics. Essentially, it is the formula goes like this. The distance or miles squared time is 8 inches for every mile. That should give you the fictitious and imaginary curvature of the ball Earth. It is as simple as that, guys. And to give you a real life example, from Manchester Airport, United Kingdom, to London, the capital of England, we are talking 163 miles straight flight from A to B, as you can see on this sample here. Let's apply that to the formula as we have been discussing so far. So that gives us 163 miles squared times 8 inches. Now, think about this carefully. According to modern globe geocosmography, that should put London 3.5 miles behind and below the horizon as you approach from Manchester Airport. Think about that carefully. London should be 3 miles, 400 meters below and behind the horizon behind this supposed curvature. How about that? Does that make any sense in reality? You've been on airplanes. Here is another example. The formula applies exactly the same way. Only that this time the destination is Barcelona, Spain, separated from Manchester by 710 miles, which is some distance. So, but look at the dip, 64 miles supposed curvature. Now just wait a minute. Hold your horses and your donkeys and your cows, chickens, camels, and your reindeer, and let the man just think for a moment. Yeah, just trying to download some serious information from NASA and you know who. Yeah, here it comes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. Download complete. Now, basically, guys, brothers, and sisters, what you have to do is you have to fly off from Manchester Airport and head towards Spain, in particular, Barcelona. But as you do that, don't forget the curvature and the hump or the dip. You remember? You have to fly over the curvature, the hump, 8 inches per mile squared. Yeah, you have to, don't forget the hump. You have to go over it and come down. And somewhere down there, 64 miles below the dip, you shall find Barcelona. Yes, inshallah, God willing, you shall find Barcelona somewhere down there, 64 miles below the earth's surface, behind the hump, below the dip. Yeah. Yep, as you can see, guys, I'm really trying hard to put this into the loaf. But the loaf just won't register it. It just won't register. Because it, you know what? Let's try one more time. Let's try to explore NASA's database as well as the ESA. Yep, getting the same information, signals, and stuff, as they say. Look, guys, it is what it is. Let's just face it. Modern pseudo cosmology, reinforced by CGI, optic illusion, Hollywood, Star Trek, jargon. How do we know that? Because on one hand, we are getting all this nonsense, images, posters, CGI globe Earth. But on the other hand, we cannot observe any of this in reality and realistically and scientifically. Imagine. Have you ever felt the supposed spin of the entire Earth at 1,000 miles an hour? For example, arrest our case.
One of the most commonly cited alleged proofs of the globe Earth is the disappearance of ships sailing beyond the horizon as seen from an observer on shore. Globe Earthers since Aristotle have claimed the reason that ship hulls disappear before their mastheads when sailing away is due to the physical curvature of the Earth obfuscating their view. This simple supposed proof is still cited today by Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michelle Thaler, and other NASA spokespeople, but is easily shown invalid with the use of modern zoom technology. By fixing a good telescope or super zoom camera aimed at the horizon on a clear day, it is possible to bring ships that have completely disappeared beyond the supposed curvature of the Earth fully back into view. The fact of the matter is that the law of perspective on plane surfaces dictates and necessitates this phenomenon. For example, a girl wearing a dress walking away towards the horizon will appear to sink into the earth the farther away she walks. Her feet will disappear from view first, and the distance between the ground and the bottom of her dress will gradually diminish until after about a half a mile it seems like her dress is touching the ground as she walks on invisible legs. The same happens with cars speeding away. The axles gradually get lower and the wheels vanish until it appears as if the car is gliding along its body. Such is the case on plane surfaces. The lowest parts of objects receding from a given point of observation necessarily disappear before the highest. It has absolutely nothing to do with the supposed curvature of the earth, and everything to do with the nature of vision. When you look out at the flat horizontal horizon, the ground appears to rise up from your feet to your eye level, and the sky appears to slope down from over your head to your eye level. A row of lampposts appears to get shorter in the distance, but in reality, they are all actually the same height. If you are looking out over a road or railway track, you will also notice the same phenomenon happening left to right. The parallel sides of the road or railway appear to converge at a point on the horizon, but in reality, they never actually converge and remain parallel the whole length. This law of perspective is therefore an optical illusion hardwired into the very way we perceive the world. Even without a zoom camera or telescope, it is simple to prove that ships sailing into the horizon are not disappearing beyond the curvature of a globe. Instead of looking straight ahead at the ship disappearing a few miles in the distance, first look to your left, where you can see equally far into the distance, and then look to your right, where you can see equally far again. In other words, you can see twice as far from left to right as you can see straight in front of you anyway. But for some reason, you think at just half the distance in front of you, ships are already disappearing over the supposed curvature of the Earth. This is even more obvious with the use of high-altitude balloons, which can reach heights of over 120,000 feet and can often see for hundreds of miles in all directions. As high as the camera climbs, the horizon rises to eye level, and any ships that seemed to disappear after a few miles are easily viewable again at altitude. Ironically, in this instance, globe Earth apologists use the exact opposite excuse, and no matter your altitude, will claim you simply aren't high enough to see the mythical curvature of their fantastical ball Earth. In other words, they claim at ground level, ships are disappearing beyond the physical curvature of their globe just a few miles away, but at high altitudes, where observers can see for hundreds of miles in all directions, that is somehow not high or far enough to see the curve. In reality, however, when the curvature math is applied for a globe of given proportions, we should be able to easily observe it, even at ground level.
The fact of the matter is, and this is to be fair and objective, before the invention of binoculars and zoom-in technology, which can nowadays bring the horizon right before your eyes from the distance, the supposed curvature of the Earth was at best a theory, an imagination, a possible explanation by some of the ancient people in order for them to understand the world around them. However, in today's world, rogue and dark agencies such as NASA and their other counterparts have laid a grip of control over our skies and have casted magic over our eyes with their well-funded optic illusion, CGI, Hollywood, and mass media images. They know very, very well about the real shape of our Earth, that there is no globe, there is no curvature, that no one has ever really been to space, and they can never do so without the permission of Allah, the Most High, the Most Glorified, the Creator. So, why are they so determined to conceal the truth from the rest of humanity? Why? Now, that question you will just have to find out for yourself by doing sincere, objective, and open minded research at your own pace, and you shall come to know. But if you cannot be bothered to do that, then you will just have to wait until the day of judgment. And in case there are Muslims watching this video, somehow, somewhere, sometime, we can assure you 100%, Wallahi, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the earth is flat and motionless, just as the Quran says, وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. Go and research it, and you shall come to know for sure. Let's just say they were honest men, scholars, men of religion, scripture, and other knowledgeable individuals who knew very, very well the fact and the cosmographic reality and shape of our earth. However, all of them were thrown under the bus, you see, never ever to be given a chance, as well as being hidden from the eyes of the public. Reverend Thomas Milner, M.A., from his work Atlas of Physical Geography, when writing about the geographic nature of Central and East European landscapes, he said, vast areas exhibit a perfectly dead level, scarcely a rise existing through 1,500 miles from the Carpathians to the Urals. South of the Baltic, the country is so flat that a prevailing north wind will drive the waters of the Statina Haff into the mouth of the Oder and give the river a backward flow 30 or 40 miles. The plains of Venezuela and New Granada in South America, chiefly on the left of the Orinoco, are known as llanos or level fills. Often in the space of 270 square miles, the surface does not change a single foot. Another remarkable and profound writer, as well as professor, William Carpenter, from his work The Deep Sea and Its Content, tells us this: a flat surface is the general contour of the bed of the great oceans for tens of thousands of square miles. This is the undeniable reality, as well as the observable geographic layout and foundation of the rivers and the great oceans of our earth. That is, for tens of thousands of square miles, the rivers, the seas, and the great oceans sit on a flat bed surface. There is no globe curvature whatsoever. Hence why we conventionally use the well-established geographic terminology such as sea level, sea bed, plain sailing. Think about that. Imagine this: the Suez Canal, which joins the Red Sea with the Mediterranean, is about 100 miles long. It forms a straight and level surface of water from one end to the other, and no allowance for any supposed curvature was ever made during its construction. Think about that carefully. This simple and real-life example is a clear proof that the Earth is not a globe. The fact that the construction of this project did not take the 1.3 miles of supposed curvature as required by the globe Earth across the 100 miles is a clear and undeniable proof that the Earth is not and cannot be a globe. Here is another basic example of everyday reality: aviation. Did you know pilots, whether commercial or military or otherwise, never ever take the supposed curvature into account during their flight schedules? Next time you're on an airplane, ask them and see for yourself. And once again, if there are Muslims watching this video, you guys are lucky. Even though you are still victims of NASA, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has oversimplified the matter for you in the Quran. Right there, right here, chapter 78, as well as in many other places of the Quran. Have we not made the earth a bed? Right there. That's what it says right there. Hold on. The Muslims, they claim to have the Quran, the truth, the last revelation from Allah. the Lord of the universe and creation. What is going on? Here it is. Right there. There's the Quran right there. Look at the sheen and shine on that. The last revelation from Allah. You might as well call it the last testimony, in case there are Christians, Jews, and Sabians, and other people of that nature watching this video. So how comes the Muslims, they have the Quran? Allah says, we have not left out nothing from this book, from this kitab. But yet, how comes the Muslims are victims to NASA and these other modern agencies and magicians? What is going on? This is because the Muslims, like everyone else, the Hindus, the Chinese, the people of the West, the South Americans, the Africans, the Muslims, like everyone else, are human beings who are easily tricked through optic illusion, mass media impact, propaganda, Hollywood pictures, make-believe. You see? So yeah, the Muslims are just like everyone else. Look, put it this way. If you are a Muslim watching this video right now, let's admit it, there is no independent Islamic or Muslim cosmologic agency. There's none. And 9.9 out of 10 Muslims, do they really reflect on what Allah is saying in the Quran here? At least in the cosmologic department, when it comes to cosmography, the shape of the earth, geography. Do we really reflect? For example, in chapter 88, أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُ excuse me. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ وَإِلَى السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ رُفِعَتْ وَإِلَى الْجِبَالِ كَيْفَ نُصِبَتْ وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. Right there. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ, Allah says. Won't they observe? Will they not study? Will they not contemplate? Will they not go and experiment with? See it for yourself. وَإِلَى الْأَرْضِ كَيْفَ سُطِحَتْ. How the earth has been made flat. It's right there in your Quran. But yet here we are, following NASA like sheep in the millions, just like the Prophet said, you shall follow them into, you shall follow them everywhere. Even if it's going inside the house of a lizard or a reptile. Arrest our case. Come on. That's the fact of the matter. Let's face it. We are following like sheep, like everyone else, even though we claim to have the Quran right there. You see, Allahu Akbar. Anyway, let's go back to our main topic of the video and the main purpose of why this video was produced. The vanishing point of perspective, as we have begun this video. The reason and purpose of this video is to demonstrate to the public, to the sincere and objective public and individuals, by using real life examples without using any CGI or optic illusion or make-believe or complicated terminology and what have you. By using real life examples, we are able to demonstrate to the public that the reason why objects and things such as airplanes, birds, the sun, the moon, the reason why objects vanish out of sight in the distant horizon has absolutely nothing to do with the supposed and fictitious curvature of the so-called globe Earth. Nothing. Rather, it has everything to do with distance, geometry, and the flat, stationary Earth that has been laid out before your eyes, as far as your eyes can see. Take a good look at this airplane, a real-life example and demonstration. Now, as you can clearly see, the further away the plane flies away from us, the more it flies away. It gains distance between us and it. The more and more the plane will appear to be dipping into the horizon, i.e., it appears to be losing height or altitude, the more it flies away from us. But in reality, we know this airplane is flying at the same altitude or height as it was right above our head. You see, look at that. Now, just a few more minutes of flying, and this airplane will vanish out of our sight. Not because it has disappeared behind some imaginary curvature, no, but because of distance in relation to the Earth's flat geometric layout and how your eyes see things at distance. That's all. Also, unless you want to play dumb because you prefer the garbage and computer simulations fed to you by NASA, you would have also noticed that it is the airplane that is flying across the Earth, while the Earth down here is fixed and is stationary. This is very simple. If you still don't get it up to this point, then you must be suffering from some serious brainwashing, mind colonization, and some next level garbage overload from NASA. To be frank and honest, you may need to see a doctor and get yourself checked out as soon as possible. Pay close attention to these street lights, in particular, this one here on the left side and closest to us with the highlighted indicator. Now, in reality, we can see, we can observe, we know 100% that this lamppost is standing on the same flat surface concrete as the ones way at the back of the row, whether on the left or right, it doesn't really matter. Now, the ones way at the back, they appear to be much, much, much shorter in length than the ones closest to us right here. You see? So what is going on? What? We know in reality that this road has not bent. There is no curvature here. At best, we are looking at maybe 400 meters or so of distance. This is the reality of our Earth, this terrestrial realm or plane. It is flat all the way across, intersected by mountainous regions, landscapes, oceans, rivers, forests, from Australia to China, to the United States, to the Amazon, to Africa, to Europe, you name it. That is how it was built by the Maker, the Creator, Allah, the Lord of the universe. Now, just to go back to this airplane example, the same demonstration, the same principle of the vanishing point of perspective applies here, exactly as the lamppost. The only difference is that the airplane here is on the move, whereas the lamppost was stationary. But nevertheless, the same principle apply, the effect of the vanishing point of perspective in relation to distance and the horizon. One other lesson to take away from this clip is that if you really, really pay attention and be sincere, objective, open-minded, and observant, you will realize, just as this airplane is doing, flying and dashing across the sky, exactly the same way, this is what the sun and the moon do. They dash across the sky from the east to the west. Of course, for the sun and the moon, we have to time lapse. And here we have another clear example of the vanishing point of perspective in relation to distance and the horizon. Again, using these street lamps, you can see clearly the street or the road or the surface is not bent. There is no curvature. Yet the last light or lamppost is almost vanishing into the horizon. And this is it. Here you go. We just juxtaposed the street lamp example against the sun motion above the earth from the east to the west. Exactly the same principle, the vanishing point of perspective in relation to distance. You see, same thing. This is exactly how the sun moves across the sky. You see, just like the airplane. Check this out. Take another good look at this brilliant video example right here. As you can clearly see, the floor, the surface, the ground is perfectly level and flat all the way to the end. Yet the roof, supported by the columns, appears to converge towards the horizon. Nothing to do with curvature. Nothing. Even if you were to double or triple the length of the roof, the furthest part of that roof would inevitably appear to vanish into the horizon or touch the horizon, you see, whilst at the same time, the ground below the surface would remain perfectly flat without any bend or curvature, you see. Look, the fact of the matter is, this phenomena and perspective has absolutely nothing to do with the imaginary curvature and everything to do with intelligent design and geometry. Here is another perfect example, this time illustrated by the sun. You see, the earth is still, stationary, chilled out. There is no wobbling or spinning earth anywhere, just like the road and the concrete on which the street lamps are standing on. And you know what? There she goes. Because of motion in relation to distance, she vanishes out of sight. Nothing to do with a curvature. Think, think, think. It is so obvious. Have you noticed in all these examples and demonstrations that the floor or the ground is always perfectly flat all the way to the distance and as far as your eyes can see? However, it is the sky or the roof that seems to converge or dip towards the horizon the further away it is. Look at this seaside scene. What you are looking at here is a perfect and classic example of what is referred to as the sea level. You know, the horizon, the perfect horizon in the distance on a clear day. Now, look, you have to understand something fundamental about the horizon. The horizon is one of the key secrets, one of the primary key secrets to the real shape of our Earth. You know, the proper cosmographic relationship between the Earth and the sky. This is why a great deal of effort is made by modern cosmologic agencies such as NASA, the ISS, the ESA, and others by using a combination of fisheye camera technology, computer simulation, CGI, Photoshop. Oh man, there's a ton of that out there on the internet video system in order to distort and give you the impression of a globe from space, which is not the case in reality. Look at this stuff. Could this be a new planet they discovered recently? The Reflector planet, maybe 9.9 light years out there in the universe. Why not? Huh? How about this one? Could this be the Earth from deep space, high altitude? No, it is all fake Photoshop and CGI images. You see, this one here, the ground, the surface is real. However, someone has applied the fisheye camera effect, distortion, to give you the look of a globular impression. You see, and that's it. This is it. This is what NASA uses to give you fake high altitude hocus pocus images of Earth. It's all fake. It is all computer simulation, CGI, and fakery. And it's all done to achieve one thing: distortion and concealment of the horizon. That is how important the horizon is. Another critical aspect of the horizon in relation to the Earth's shape and geocosmography is that the horizon at any altitude, any elevation, whether you are on a tree or mountaintop or a high building or an airplane or some other high altitude situation, the horizon will miraculously rise to your eye level. This alone is just a phenomena, and it should be impossible on a globe Earth. Impossible. So yeah, as usual, as part of Timegate Moments videos, we come to that clip, that bit, that aspect, that special bit that is usually tailored and dedicated to the Muslims. If that is, there are Muslims watching somehow. You know, this bit is for you. So pay attention. Pay attention, you know, because the Quran you are reading every day is a geocentric book and revelation. It's no joke. You know, it's let's just say when it comes to modern cosmology, you have fallen into the you shall follow them even into a hole of a lizard. How about that? So just check this out. It's just about maybe about 2 minutes or so long, just to give you a gist. And is this bit here is connected to the to an earlier video. You can go and check out on the channel somewhere. The best flat Earth basics for Muslims video. Check it out. That will break down at least many of the basics, terminology, why modern cosmology uses those terminology, but you don't find it in the Quran or the Hadith. Very interesting. You see, listen, if there is the truth, there has to be lies. If there's up, there has to be down. If there's darkness, there have to be light or nur. You see, it's funny. What was the hadith? One of the hadiths out there. In the latter days, those days, the persons who are telling the truth will be pushed aside. What is he talking about? What is she talking about? Get out of here. And the one who's lying, presenting pure lies, will be believed. And this applies to any department. News, but mainly to do with information, dispensation, you know, putting things across, whether it's cosmology, whether it's religion, whether it's history, whether it's news, real time. The one telling the truth will be seen in the background, some guy who's talking rubbish. What is he talking about? You see? But the one who are lying, you know, modern media, yeah, they shall be believed. That's what the hadith is telling you. If you just use logic. Anyway, check this out. Pay attention. Muslims, this bit is for you. And it, again, it's to do with the sun and Surah Yasin. Yeah, check this out. Take a look at this one. The message of the Quran is that we are living in a geo-system, a geocentric system. You see, with the stars and the moon and the sun rotating and moving above the earth. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. Now what do they say in opposition? They say no, it is a solar system with everything, the earth, the stars, the moon, and what have you, going around the sun, with the sun in the middle. Take a look at this following video. You see, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. Check this out. You see, this is what Allah is talking about in Surah Yasin. وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. لِمُسْتَقَرٍ لَهَا is referring to the two stopping points of the sun. The most northern circulation, the Arctic Circle, and the most southern circulation, the Antarctic Circle. When the sun reaches these two extremities, she has to stop and return. So what do they say? They say exactly the opposite. It is a solar system with the sun fixed in the middle and everything else is going around the sun. You see, you know, sometimes you wonder whether this entire idea and cosmological design around the sun, i.e., the solar system, is somehow connected with sun worship. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم خلق السماوات والأرض بالحق يكور الليل على النهار ويكور النهار على الليل وسخر الشمس والقمر كل يجري لأجل مسمى ألا هو العزيز الغفار. The Quran, chapter 39, verse 5. Go and check it out. He created the heavens and the earth in truth. He wraps the night over the day and wraps the day over the night. And he has subjected the sun and the moon to service, each of them running for an appointed term or time. Isn't he the Almighty, the most forgiving? This is the reality Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about in the Quran. The sun and the moon have been subjected to service, running either 30 days or 24 hours, 365 days. Speaking about the moon and the sun, we are told by NASA and their henchmen that they landed on the moon in 1969. That's almost 60 years ago, when technology was really not the best. You know, way back, maybe even before black and white TV. But guess what? They are claiming that they have gone to the moon using this stuff over here. Just take a good look. What is it? What? It looks like something done in a school artwork, isn't it? Paper mache, foil, aluminium foil, maybe some metal scraps, ropes. It's just a joke. So why do people accept that? Why do they believe? Why do you believe that they have gone to the moon in that rubbish? A moon that they claim is almost 250,000 miles away, which is another lie. We know that for sure. So why do we fall for the trick, the claim? Why? The noble Quran makes it simple, plain, and understandable why you would fall for such a deception and sophisticated scheme. Remember the pharaonic magicians when they fought and performed against Moses by using their magic and optic illusion. Today, NASA, they do exactly the same against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to hide the sama ad-dunya, so that humanity may not recognize special creation and that they were put on this earth created by Allah. Modern cosmology, as led by NASA and their other henchmen, is no more than a grand scheme, a well-funded grand scheme by using optic illusion, pseudo-cosmology, CGI, and istirhab in order to hide the sama ad-dunya from humanity so that disbelief may prevail and not tawheed. Yeah, this is the reality. We let Eric Dubay explain some more of this.
Take a second to honestly observe the following picture and tell me what this looks like to you. If you said a bunch of cardboard, construction paper, curtain rods, gold tape, and foil, you would be correct. If instead you said the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's highest technological achievement, incapable of being reproduced today, the Apollo 11 lunar lander, then you would also be correct. Most unbiased viewers would assume your average high school art class could construct this contraption without much struggle. But official NASA spokesman and astronaut Don Pettit assures us that actually, this 1969 technology is so advanced that even with their multi-billion-dollar yearly budget, they cannot for the life of them recreate it now.
I'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond,
Don informs us.
But NASA destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
Firstly, why on earth would NASA destroy the original Apollo lunar landers? The historic first crafts that landed men on the moon? the supposed most incredible achievements of mankind, and they irreparably destroyed them so that they could not be replicated even after 50 years? Could it be because they didn't want future generations able to visit museums and see these laughable 1960s attempts at high-tech looking space vehicles? And what other 1960s technology is so advanced and expensive that it cannot be recreated easily and far better now than way back then? Let's take a closer look at this 1960s spaceship and see what else we can notice. For example, look at the paneling here on the side of the craft. If someone sheetrocked your house looking like this, you would be entitled to a full refund. Yet, with supposedly the best engineers and scientists in the world on the job, this is the kind of craftsmanship NASA provides? Look at the flimsy, haphazard, and careless construction materials and methods used. Look at the buckling, warping, and indentations showing how thin the paneling is. What is this thing? A Twinkie? No, I'm sure it's some super important and necessary high-tech device. Here there are press stubs, and here also has press stubs. But here, and here, they must have run out, so they used gold foil instead. And then over here, they must have run out of gold foil because they didn't bother with either. Look over here, at the evenly spaced lines of gold foil going down the legs, until you get to this point, where there is 3 lines right close together. It must be important because it's the connection point to the other crossbars, right? Let's look at another leg. Oh, no. On this one, they are all evenly spaced the whole way down. No 3 lines near the crossbar. Apollo 11 mission controller Harold Loden was quoted saying, "The skin on the crew cabin was very thin, and that was all done because of weight saving. If you really took your finger and poked hard at it, you could poke right through the outer skin of the spacecraft. It was about the thickness of 2 layers of aluminum foil." Project manager Thomas Kelly concurred, noting that the skin, the aluminum alloy skin of the crew compartment, was about 12 1/1000ths of an inch thick, equivalent to about 3 layers of Reynolds wrap that you would use in the kitchen. Apollo astronaut Jim Lovell said, "Whenever I saw a model of the lunar module, it had these rigid sides and looked really strong. Turns out that external portions of the lunar module are actually made up of mylar and cellophane, and it's put together with Scotch tape and staples. We had to have pads on the floor, because if you dropped a screwdriver, it would go through the floor." Apollo astronaut Gus Grissom even famously hung a lemon on the lunar lander just weeks before the mission started. The dictionary describes lemon being a word used to describe things, especially automobiles, regarded as unsatisfactory, disappointing, or feeble. The lunar lander was never even once tested on Earth, landing here from any altitude before supposedly going and successfully landing on the moon. There, this pathetic cardboard and tinfoil construction allegedly fell from lunar orbit at 4,000 miles per hour, then used retrothrusters to slow it down and safely landed without a hitch on the lunar surface. When the astronauts did practice in other training vehicles, 3 out of 5 of them crashed, and you can see here how difficult they were to control, even in broad daylight, on Earth, in optimal conditions. The idea that the actual lunar lander was never once tested on Earth, but then made a perfect landing on the moon, is one small step for lying Freemasons, and one giant leap for brainwashed mankind. This is a 7,500-pound thruster. Look how powerful this is, how big, how much dust it kicks up, and the light it creates. The lunar lander's thruster was even bigger, at 10,000 pounds, and somehow didn't kick up any dust, left no blast crater under the craft, and not a grain of sand on the landing pads, as if it was gently placed down by a crane in a studio. Here we see the lunar lander redocking with the command module. This is clearly fake and made with props, models, and footage similar to the Hollywood creations of the day, such as Stanley Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey, created in 1968, the year before the first supposed moon landing. Look at the jerky, unrealistic motions and lack of thrusters being used. The craft is just being turned like a Rubik's Cube somehow. All of this supposedly happening as they both orbit the moon at 4,000 miles per hour. Since many people can't believe this is genuine footage, let me assure you, this is actual, official NASA footage of the Apollo 11 redocking. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to moon landing hoax evidence. If you still believe man has actually walked on the moon, and rovers are rolling around on Mars, please do me, yourself, and the rest of humanity a favor and watch my following presentation, link in the description box, the NASA Moon and Mars landing hoaxes.
Well, that's Eric Dubay, another staunch and highly knowledgeable individual out there in terms of the flat earth subject, research, realization, spreading the good word. Really, really appreciate his videos, his works. We have learned a lot from the man. May Allah preserve him and guide him to Islam and the full truth. He definitely knows what he's talking about. As an American, you would think he would be the #1 fan of NASA. But he is one of their staunch enemy. It just goes to show, when it comes to the truth, it isn't about your color or your background or your ethnicity or your nationality. It's just everyone just intrinsically, they prefer to hear the truth. We want to see the truth. Anyway, we hope you took some good points from this video and that you observed the main message in terms of the vanishing point of perspective, in that in reality, when we study, when we scrutinize, when we observe carefully, we come to know that objects such as the sun, the stars, the moon, helicopters, the airplanes, anything, objects, they vanish out of sight in the distant horizon, not because of the imaginary and fictitious curvature, but because of distance in relation to the flat geometric layout of the Earth, as demonstrated earlier by the lamp example, the airplane example, and the canal example. Here is a simple question for you to contemplate. Take a look at this cloud, this flimsy, fluffy cloud. Why isn't the powerful force of gravity not bringing it down to the ground? Is the cloud really that powerful against the force of gravity? Yeah, 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 song, sing, song, sing, song, 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 sang, sing, 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 song, 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 song.